Ever notice how some 9mm pistols just keep coming back? Doesn't matter what the latest best of 2026 list says, or which influencer is flashing something new. Walk into any real gun shop, and you'll spot the same models reappearing behind the counter. Ask a dealer, and you won't get a straight answer. They move them quietly, stash extras for their regulars, and never seem to let them gather dust. I used to chase the new releases thinking I was ahead of the game. Then I watched shelves empty out, and only a handful of pistols return week after week. Sometimes the exact same serial number I saw sold last month is right back for round 2. Ignore the marketing noise. There's a reason dealers keep these stocked. Miss this list, and you might regret it the next time you find the case empty. Especially when you realize the one pistol you passed on could have changed your whole 2026. Right after Christmas, the Walther PDP Compact started moving in a way nobody expected. Most buyers weren't even looking for one. They came in with their minds on something else, maybe chasing a deal or just burning through a gift card. But once the holiday crowd hit the range, that changed fast. All it took was a single mag through the PDP Compact. Suddenly, every other pistol felt flat, like homework you'd rather skip. It isn't hype or influencer talk doing the work. It's that trigger, cleaner than anything else in the case, and the grip that feels made for your hand, even if you've never shot a Walther before. Dealers watched beginners shoot tighter groups than they'd ever managed, and regulars who never glanced at Walthers were back the next day, asking if any more had come in. That's why shelves clear out after just a day or two at the range. This is the conversion gun, the one that creates believers on the firing line, not in the comments. And just wait until you see the next pistol. That one's moving for a reason nobody expected this December. Some buyers have even started trying to reserve a PDP Compact before the next shipment lands. Didn't matter if they already owned 3 other pistols. I'd been driving back and forth through Fort Worth to Dallas all through December, stopping at shops whenever I had time, different stores, different staff, different crowds, but the same pattern kept showing up. Ask about the CZ P10C, and the answer barely changed. Either it was already gone, or there were 1 or 2 left that everyone seemed to know about. This isn't a gun that needs explaining. The people buying it weren't browsing, weren't comparing, weren't asking what else was similar. They came in direct, asked for the P10C, and moved on. No debate, no second guessing. Most of them had already owned something else, and didn't feel like gambling again. What stood out was what wasn't happening. No trade-ins coming back. No return sitting in the case. Dealers weren't pitching it either. They just kept ordering more because every time a shipment landed, it thinned out the same way. Quietly, one of the most consistent compact sellers. No hype, steady demand. It's the kind of gun shops depend on because it doesn't need noise to move. And compared to what's happening with the next pistol on this list, this one almost looks calm. December in Texas, weather flips, and the whole carry game changes. Coats and hoodies are everywhere, and all those folks who spent summer pocket carrying start looking for something with more grip and more rounds. Lately, the Echelon 4.0C keeps coming up. It's not the gun for showing off, it's what the serious carriers ask for when the season lets them go bigger under all those layers. The ones picking these up already carry every day. Winter just gives them a reason to step up. More capacity, better control still disappears under a jacket. I've watched shop counters clear out after that first big freeze. There's always talk online about reliability issues, but none of it ever shows up at the counter. It doesn't slow the line. If anything, it makes buyers even more eager. That late rush on the Echelon isn't slowing down. It's already bleeding into 2026. Walk into any shop this winter looking for one, and odds are it's already gone. The next pistol on this list, dealers weren't ready for how fast that story turned this season. Late last year, I honestly thought the Glock 43 XMOS was done. I remember standing at the counter in mid-December, looking at the case thinking, who's still grabbing these? The wave's over, right? I saw one sell, didn't even blink. Figured that was just a leftover moving out. Maybe some last-minute holiday buyer clearing stock. Came back a few weeks later, there it was again. Same spot, fresh tag, and another customer asking for it. At first, I figured maybe it was a fluke. I kept noticing it though. Different stores, same thing. Here today, gone tomorrow, and always back on the shelf the next week. Nobody was talking it up, nobody was showing it off, and it definitely wasn't the new excitement people were after this season. I'll admit I didn't get it. It felt like the hype was done and people would have moved on to something else. But every time I wrote it off, the 43 XMOS just kept cycling through, steady as ever. By January, I finally stopped trying to figure it out. Some guns just survive, not because they're loved, but because people trust them when they're tired of gambling. Stick around, the next pistol caught me off guard for all the wrong reasons. After wrapping up my range season a few days ago, I didn't head home. I drove out of town just to kill time. By the end, I'd walked into at least 10 gun shops and a handful of pawn shops. Different owners, different crowds, but the same thing kept happening. The Canik TP9 Elite SC kept popping up where I wasn't looking for it. Never front and center, never pushed, just there. One shop had it tagged and gone by afternoon. Another had one tucked in the corner, gone next time I swung back. Even pawn shops, barely used, then disappeared. What stuck with me wasn't the talk, because nobody talked about it. No shop speech, no guy behind the counter hyping it. Just people picking it up, dry firing, quietly deciding to take it home. Even folks who's already owned flashier pistols. That bugged me. I was never really sold. The look never clicked, felt a little bulky, and every time someone brought it up, it felt like pressure, not curiosity. After all those stops, it got impossible to ignore. The Canik just left, quietly, again and again. Some guns don't survive on hype or love. They survive because when people stop experimenting, they still get picked. And compared to what starts happening with the next pistol, this one almost feels quiet. I've seen panic buys before, but nothing comes close to what's happening with this pistol right now in 2026. Late November, I moved to Dallas. The second I hit town, you could feel it. Lines at the counter, phones blowing up, and the SIG Sauer P365 XMacro flying off shelves, like nothing I'd seen in months. You hear shop guys talk, but this was a whole new kind of buzz. Legislators in 2 states just rushed through new purchase limits, one dealer told me. Lines wrapped around the building before the next shipment even landed. If you've been anywhere near Dallas lately, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Folks got nervous, dealers started rationing, and nobody knew if they'd get a shot at the next batch. Phones rang nonstop. People calling in favors, begging for a heads up on the next delivery. This isn't about specs anymore. It's about grabbing an XMacro before you're shut out for good. I watch politics bleed straight into the shop. Buyers glued to news alerts like ammo drop warnings. If you missed it, you felt it in your gut. If you scored one, you kept it quiet and close. Don't get caught sleeping in 2026. The XMacro panic is real, and what comes next moves even faster. December always packs the shop with a wild mix. Folks rushing for last-minute deals, new shooters unsure what to grab, family members picking up their first pistol for someone at home. In all that noise, there's one question I hear more than any other. What's the safest bet? What won't give me headaches later? Dealers don't hesitate. They point straight to the M&P9 2.0 Compact. This isn't the pistol trying to wow you with something flashy or new. It doesn't bite, doesn't intimidate, and doesn't send folks back with complaints. I've seen it get handed to the nervous husband shopping for his wife, the college kid with their dad, the mom wanting something everyone in the house can pick up without a lesson. No drama, no long-winded pitch from the staff. Just a nod and a quiet, "You'll be fine with this one," returns almost never. Questions, maybe once. The M&P just works, cycles clean, shoots soft, and makes the decision easy for families who'd rather avoid second-guessing. You can feel the relief in the room when the choice is made. But the gun at number 6? Nobody's buying that one to play it safe. That's a whole different animal. By the time this one comes up, most conversations are already tired. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. Guys walk in, arguing specs, sizes, brands, what they should buy this time. 10 minutes later, the energy's gone. The debate just ends. That's when the Glock 19 shows up. Not as a pitch, not as a recommendation, just as the thing nobody feels like arguing against anymore. I've watched people circle the case, pick up 2 or 3 pistols, put them back, then land on the 19 like they're done gambling for the day. It's not exciting. Nobody lights up holding it. Nobody brags about it at the counter. And that's exactly why it keeps coming back into stock. It doesn't create follow-up questions. It doesn't create regret. It doesn't create returns. You don't hear stories about getting used to it or learning its quirks. It either fits into someone's life or it doesn't, and most of the time, it just fits. By January 2026, with all the noise, updates, and new releases floating around, this thing is still sitting there like a full stop at the end of a sentence. Not impressive, not disappointing, just final. That's why it keeps getting restocked. This one still messes with me. Every December, I expect the Taurus G3C to slow down. Every year, I'm wrong. I'll see it sitting there in a pawn shop or tucked off to the side at a counter, and I'll think, this one's going to linger. It doesn't. The people buying it aren't browsing. They're not comparing triggers or talking brands. They're solving a problem and getting out. Secondary carry, backup gun. Something they won't lose sleep over if it gets scratched, dropped, or tossed in a glove box. Short conversations, fast decisions, and yeah, the reputation still hangs over it. You can feel it. People hesitate for a second, then they don't. I've watched that moment happen more times than I'm comfortable with. No excitement, no pride, no story to tell afterward. Just a gun leaving the shelf and another one taking its place. That's the part that makes dealers keep ordering it. Not because they love it, not because they brag about it, because it keeps moving in the situations nobody likes talking about. I've seen G3 size run. I've also seen why people don't trust them fully. Both things can be true, and somehow it doesn't matter. Like it or not, by the time January rolls around, this thing is still gone again. That's the reality. December made this one impossible to ignore. In my town, the Ruger RXM didn't just sell well, it became the normal answer. And it wasn't just here. I drove around Texas last month. Different cities, different shops, same quiet pattern. Nobody was pitching it. Nobody was explaining it. It just kept coming up like it was already settled. That's what caught me off guard. Like, this wasn't excitement. It wasn't a rush. It was acceptance. People mention the RXM the same way. You mention a place you already trust. No debate, no follow-up questions, no second guessing. Like the decision had already been made before anyone touched the counter. What bothered me was how little resistance there was. Usually a bestseller comes with noise. This didn't. It just blended in, became the default. By the end of December, it felt less like a hot item and more like a local standard that spread faster than anyone noticed. I'm not even convinced it wins everywhere the same way. That's the part I haven't answered yet. Is this a Texas thing, a timing thing, or just what happens when people stop chasing and start copying what works around them? All I know is this. December didn't crown the Ruger RXM. It confirmed it. And if this one feels serious, the next gun feels personal. Way more personal. The day after New Year, me and my friend Gary took a drive out toward Fort Worth. No big plan. Just killing the holiday hangover and stopping wherever looked open. A couple shops, a pawn place. Same thing kept popping up, and it felt off. The Beretta APX A1 wasn't getting talked about like a gun. It was getting talked about like an item. Guys weren't asking about how it shoots. Nobody mentioned carry, recoil, or even ammo. The conversations jumped straight to what it was worth and how fast it could move. Boxes were clean. Slides looked untouched. One shop owner joked that half the ones he sold never saw around. That stuck with me. I kept watching people grab it, not with excitement, not with confidence, just certainty that someone else would want it. Almost like firing it wasn't the point. Owning it briefly was. And here's the part that matters for this list. Dealers didn't slow down on it. Why would they? Whether it got carried, shot, or flipped the next week didn't change the outcome. It kept leaving. Step into 2026. That's a strange kind of success. Not trust in the gun, trust in the movement around it. And I still haven't decided which one matters more. That's why this one belongs here. Things had slowed down. Fewer people hanging around. Less noise in the shops. You could feel it right away. Browsing turned into purpose. Then this one came out, and the mood shifted. A buddy of mine in the industry shared something I couldn't shake. He said, some distributors might be sitting on FN 509 compacts on purpose, letting supply tighten until pressure builds. No recall, no safety issue, just timing. I can't prove it, but what I was seeing lined up a little too clean. The questions changed. Talk drifted away from feel and features. Jokes stopped. Conversation stayed short. Durability, duty use, who carries it, why? Voices dropped. Decisions came quicker. I saw a guy a few days ago at my range pick it up, pause longer than usual, then nod once. No comparison, no second option. The conversation ended right there. This gun doesn't move on excitement. It shows up when buying stops being casual and starts feeling heavy. Discounts don't matter. Explaining doesn't help. It clears the counter when the stakes feel real. Heading into 2026, that behavior didn't fade. If anything, it sharpened. I still don't know how much of that story is real and how much just explains the timing. Either way, dealers keep making space for it. If you think the next pistol is popular, you missed what happened right before it sold. December brings in a different kind of buyer. Not curious, not excited, finished with experimenting. Burned out on chasing trends that looked good online and felt wrong in the hand. These are the people who finally ask the question straight, without padding it. What actually works? The VP9 shows up right after that moment. It gets chosen after quiet admissions. Something didn't feel right. Something didn't hold up. Confidence slips, and the conversation slows with it. The VP9 comes out without ceremony, without selling. No sharp edges, no odd angles, no learning curve waiting to surprise you later. It settles into the hand like a correction, not a discovery. Instructors point to it quietly. Range officers don't debate it. Experienced shooters don't justify the choice. A nod is enough. In 2026, dealers keep making room for it because this pistol closes loops. It replaces mistakes. It ends arguments without starting new ones. Some pistols are chosen out of interest. The VP9 gets chosen when people are finished being wrong. And the bonus? That one shows up for a reason even harder to admit. Last month in Austin, I stopped at a pawn shop I don't usually bother with. Nothing special, just killing time. Most of the case looked predictable. Then the seller leaned a little closer and pointed toward the corner. Not the main rack, not front and center, off to the side. He said it felt like a cult forming. Same energy Glock used to have, different logo, different crowd. Guys walking in already decided, already defensive, already convinced. Glock people just not buying Glocks anymore. That's stuck in my head. Nobody was asking questions, no comparisons, no explaining. They picked it up, checked it once, and moved on like they were confirming a belief, not making a choice. The kind of buy where people already know what they want before they walk through the door. It didn't feel like trust. It didn't feel like correction either. It felt like loyalty shifting sideways. Dealers don't argue with that kind of movement. They just keep space for it. Believers come back. Believers bring friends. And belief doesn't need discounts or speeches. I walked out still unsure what part of it bothered me more. The gun itself, or how fast people were ready to replace one identity with another. Either way, it keeps moving. And quietly, that says plenty. This one never feels like it belongs in a normal shop. Every time I see it in a regular case, it stands out. Not because it's rare, but because it feels too serious for the room. Too focused, almost excessive for the kind of buyers most stores deal with every day. And yet it keeps leaving. The people who come in for this one don't browse. They don't wander. They already know why they're there. No small talk, no validation. They pick it up like they're confirming something they decided long before they walked in. That's the part dealers pay attention to. This gun doesn't move fast. It moves clean. No second guessing, no back and forth, no long explanations. The sale happens, and it's done. Those are the transactions shops, remember. What's strange is how little emotion surrounds it. No hype, no trend energy, just intent. Almost clinical. Like the buyer already accepted the trade-offs and moved past them. Not every gun gets restocked because it sells to everyone. Some get restocked because the right people keep showing up. This one proves that quietly. If you think the story ends here, you haven't spent enough time in the back room of your local gun shop. Dealers always have another shipment on the way, another can't keep it in stock model they swear by, even while everyone else is chasing flash. I've watched buyers regret the pistols they ignored and brag about the ones they grabbed just in time. But the market never stands still. What's crowding the shelves this week might vanish for good next month. And trust me, rumors are already swirling about which model is about to disappear next. Tell me which pistol keeps reappearing at your shop, or which one burned you when it counted. Next round, I'm digging up the 9mm that just won't die. Sometimes for the right reasons, sometimes for all the wrong ones. I'm Steve. Stay sharp, never get comfortable. There's always another mess coming, and I'll be there first to call it out.